How did I get here? Strange thought to come into the mind of a 16-year-old sitting in a hospital bed. The question was not the one of an amnesiac. It was a question of reflection to the bewildered mind of a girl loaded up on Vicodin and in excruciating pain. My question, the question I asked in the hospital that day 2 years ago, was almost one of begging. How did I get here? What did I do in order to get here? How did this happen to me? Why me? I suppose almost anyone lying in a hospital bed would ask themselves that question, but I had rarely allowed myself time to reflect. I had suffered for a long time, and I usually chose to avoid thoughts of anger and desperation. There lies a trap I had fallen into many times. It was a long, dark path I had tread. There was no real need to go back. Besides, alone in the hospital, in so much pain it's impossible to describe it to you, and medicated so much I would probably have had a hard time remembering my parents' full names on command. It was probably not the best time. But still, how the hell did I get here? It was a bright sunny summer's day in Oregon at the Double J Ranch, and I was young, 9 or 8, riding on the back of a very frisky horse named Nellie. Yeah, I know. What kind of person names a horse Nellie? Anyway, it was pretty cool. The day before, I had learned to canter, and I had been hoping I would canter on a trail ride that day. The paperwork hadn't gone through yet, and I was disappointed, until one of the trail guides got a call on their walkie-talkie and called my name. They said that I could switch to the cantering trail ride. I was so excited. There weren't very many kids in this group. We started out down the trail, walk, trot, canter, walk again. I was learning the hard way that I had chosen the wrong mount. Nellie's gaits were brutal. She was a very choppy horse to ride. About the third time we cantered, I had gotten out of sync with the horse. There was a hard jolt when my body came down as the horses came up. I screamed. I felt something give in my back. A silent snap, a dark tug, and then the pain. The constant pain. Since that moment, there has never been a second in my life without pain. I pulled back on the reins. There was a sharp, shooting pain in my spine. With each step of the horse, this pain got worse. Tears dripped down my face as I attempted to remain calm, not move, and pull on the reins at the same time. I spent the rest of that vacation alternating ice and heat, and after a few weeks, aside from a low ache, the incident seemed forgotten. The low ache remained, but it was a fairly light level of pain compared to the incident, so I almost forgot about it. About a year later, my grandmother passed away. I mourned her greatly, as we were very close. My immune system must have been weakened by this, because the pain began to get worse. It may sound cliché, but it all went downhill from there. During the next 2 or 3 years, my immune system degraded severely, probably from a combination of pain and grief. I had side effects of the pain ranging from a severe stomach problem to migraines. These continued and worsened with the pain. When I finally got my head together enough to realize what was going on, we visited a doctor about my back for the first time. A routine round of physical therapy was suggested when an MRI showed that I had a mildly slipped disc. I was nearly 13. The physical therapy showed no signs of lowering the pain, and I was sent to a chiropractor also. Between the two of them, my pain regressed slightly. When I was discharged, despite my doctor's recommendation, because the physical therapist didn't want to keep going when insurance no longer covered the therapy, I immediately began to get worse again. Over the next 3 years, I went to 3 other physical therapists for a total of over 5 rotations of therapy, 3 specialists, and I had over 13 x-rays and MRIs. The pain continued to get worse. During this time, the specialist discovered a truth which is almost humorous today. The doctors made a mistake when I was younger. My problem wasn't a small slip disc. My spinal vertebrae were snapped in 4 places. Only the strength of my back muscles were holding them in place. Following this, I had 4 non-surgical procedures, 2 of which caused severe problems, and I was finally forced to spend my days on the couch, only able to walk short distances at a time. I didn't even know who I was anymore. My personality had been reduced to a plastic smile and a hidden wince. No one knew what I was going through. The worst days? The days when I could hardly bear to get up in the morning. The days when the pain was so bad I was late to class because I didn't want anyone to see me walking down the hallway leaning on the wall. Even those days, my facade was so good, almost no one noticed. After 7 years of pain, of being stretched and worked, of being poked and prodded, I finally had had enough. I decided to have reconstructive surgery. My way of life had been destroyed. I used to be a soccer player. I played tennis on a junior league. I now couldn't walk past the kitchen without help. It sure as hell couldn't get any worse. I was utterly wrong. For those of you still suffering from an idealist view of the world, those of you who are still naive, know this. It always gets worse before it gets better. I scheduled the surgery for December, a week before winter break. The doctor said that if everything went perfectly and I was a miracle, maybe I could be back to limited school hours at the end of January, although I would still need painkillers, so that would be up to us. We felt that I would miss the least amount of school that way. The next semester of school was by far the hardest yet. Suddenly, everyone had to know what I was going through. I needed friends to carry my books. I had to use a special chair, and I had to lean on it when I walked to class. I couldn't play volleyball or basketball, when the year before I had been playing through the pain. The doctors were pissed about that.